Damn it.
What?
I have one question.
Go ask.
Whatever. No. Wait.
No, ask right now.
It can wait. It can wait, Robbie. Whatever.
I'm gonna put that part right at the beginning of the show as the intro.
Right.
Like, I have one question. Well, ask it. It can wait.
It can wait. Don't worry about me.
I hope he forgets to edit this out.
Have you ever bought a game and you really, really hated it and you really regretted spending the money to buy a game that aggravated you, that did not live up to the hype, or honestly, just flat out sucked? I've been there. It sucks. It's awful. And at the end of the day, you take it back to the store you bought it at, sell it back to them, and they give you nothing. You get absolutely nothing for that game. Then they resell that for about 3 times the value and make way more money off that used game. There is a solution to that. If you want to try a game out and see if it's any good before you go and spend the money on it, today's podcast is brought to you by Gamefly.com. Gamefly.com is giving you a free 30-day trial of their service. You can get 2 games out for 30 days. Try those 2 games out, send them back in the mail, and there are no late fees at all. If you hate the game, don't even have to buy it, send it right back to them. Head over to www.gameflyoffer.com/sidequest and get your free 30-day trial of Gamefly. I've used Gamefly countless times throughout my life to keep me from buying games that I hated. I didn't waste the money on it. I ended up keeping that money and instead got to try out the game, didn't like it, sent it back. If I loved it, went to the store and picked it up. Also, it's also a great resource if you really want to get that gamer score up and get some really cheesy, easy games you can just bolt through. It's a great, great service. I use it. I have a lot of friends that use it. So again, head over to www.gameflyoffer.com/sidequest and get your free 30-day trial. All right, guys, welcome to a brand new episode of SideQuest Podcast. Listen in and level up. If you're not following me on Twitter, start following me at SideQuestFM. You can follow me on Instagram as well at SideQuestFM. If you're over on Snapchat, snap me your questions or snap along with me and watch my story, and you can follow me there at SideQuestFit. You can also like SideQuest Fitness on Facebook, and there you'll get updates on articles, podcasts, and all the shenanigans I get into. Along with every single Tuesday, I'm going to take you to taco camp. I'm going to teach you my favorite taco recipes, the ingredients you'll need, and how to make them. So join me over there on Facebook and hang out for taco camp. I have some great recipes I'll be sharing with you shortly. The summer is approaching and people are starting to think about getting into shape for the beach. If you're looking for a fitness experience unlike any other, if you want to get in shape, but you want to cut through all of the bullshit and have a fun time while doing it, head over to SideQuestFitness.com, click on online coaching, apply. I accept 5 people every single month into my coaching program. I want to help you unlock the summer beach bod that you can be proud of to show off and help you discover the strength that you didn't know you had inside and build the superhero body that you've always wanted. But this isn't just any other fitness experience. This is a quest. You are turning fitness into a game. You'll level up and you'll even have intense and fun, challenging boss battles to embark on every single month. So again, head over to SideQuestFitness.com, click on online coaching, check out the testimonials, head down, put in your information, and apply. But before we get into the show, I do want to say thank you guys for listening on iTunes or Stitcher or wherever you listen to the podcast. So before we get into the episode, I want to read a review that someone left on iTunes. This is a review from Frequent User 27 titled, "All Fitness Podcasts Are Not Created Equal." This one is fun, a 5-star review. Thank you, Frequent User 27. Robbie does a skillful job of navigating an unscripted podcast about a variety of topics, keeping the style conversational, like you invited a fitness personality into your living room to chat. I love being able to look at the topics he covers on each episode. There's a huge breadth of topics, and choose the ones I want to listen to. It rocks. Well, thank you, Frequent User 27. If you haven't left your review of the podcast, head over to iTunes and leave a review right meow. This helps us move up the charts so more people can hear the amazing guests that we've had on the show. Guys, I am on my way to 100 episodes. I will hit 100 episodes this summer, and I have some amazing guests lined up, and the world needs to hear from them. Amazing, amazing people on the road to 100 is what I'm calling it, starting in just a few weeks. So leave a review. Let's move it up the charts. Tell people about it on social. Tell people about it on Twitter, on Facebook. If you really enjoy it, spread the news and let people know that this is the best fitness podcast online. All right, guys, this is the month's episode of Coach's Corner. We're going to talk about fat loss strategies. So let's get into the episode and hear from myself and the two other coaches on the fat loss strategies you can implement this summer as you get ready to get in shape for the beach. All right, guys, welcome to a brand new episode. This is the Coach's Corner episode of April. I have two fantastic coaches on tonight. I guess everyone else was too excited for March Madness, too crazy from all the games that they just couldn't handle hanging out and talking fat loss strategies. But I have Mason Woodruff here to chat with us. It's been a while since Mason has been on. So, Mason, it's good to have you back, sir.
Thanks, Robbie. Good seeing you again.
And Nick, I'm just not even going to try it. I'm not even going to try it this time. I'm.
You know, I think your audience is probably on a first name basis with me anyway. So it's all good, man.
I swear to God, like, I practice it before I call you, and I'm like, I've got it. I have it this time. And then I don't know what happens.
It's okay. I practice my last name sometimes too, and so.
All right, well, guys, we're talking fat loss strategies. The summer is coming up. We're all looking to lose a little weight. We all have some goals. I had a pretty impressive bulk this winter. And I'm very glad to be off 600 grams of carbs. I have not missed rice at all. I was going to go maintenance mode, but now I got a photo shoot coming up in June. So I got to ramp it up. And I've got a fat loss strategy I'm going to implement because I'm going to do a little experimenting. But fat loss is one of the biggest things that our clients come to us for. And it's something we all have experience with in our own lives and with our own clients. So we want to talk about strategies that we use so that you, as listeners, can implement a couple of these to get yourself beach ready for the summer. I want to start off with sort of myths that are out there about fat loss, because there's a lot. You can read anything on Yahoo. You can read things on anywhere. I mean, just search fat loss, and probably the first 10 or 12 articles are going to have a myth in them. One of the first is that eating after 6 p.m. will make you fat. Like, how long have we... I think, actually... Wasn't Ryan Reynolds like the guy who like swore by that, so it made guys like even more intense about not doing it?
Probably. It sounds like a Ryan Reynolds thing. So,
because I remember him saying that when Blade 3.
Yeah, he was jacked. Yeah,
he was jacked for that. He was like, I don't eat past 6 p.m. I don't eat at night. It makes you fat. I'm like, all right, so everyone just stopped eating at night. What are some fat loss myths that you guys have to sort of debunk or deal with clients, or even that you had to overcome in your own journey?
Ooh, probably high protein kills your kidneys, or high protein is dangerous to your health. You really hear that a lot, especially from your elderly population. I don't know if that was kind of ingrained back in the day, maybe. But really what you see nowadays is even 2 to 3 grams per pound of body weight is starting to, Jose Antonio with the ISSN, starting to put out some really good stuff on super high protein doses and how you can almost eat in a calorie surplus and not gain body fat, almost counterintuitively.
Well, there was a guy who just did an experiment, like training for a month as The Rock and eating like The Rock's diet.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, and he put on muscle and he lost fat. And it does work. Like I've seen one of the guys in the mastermind that I'm in, Chris. If you guys watch Mike Vacanti on Vacanti, I swear, Mike, I'm sorry, I suck with the last names. If you watch him on Snapchat or even YouTube, he will say things like, "Don't be a Chris." and Chris has worked for him, so that's the Chris from those videos. But he was eating 496 grams of protein a day.
Good God.
I saw him put down 11 breakfast burritos in Austin. And that like what was it? The Rock eats like almost that much. Like what is
He
it?
eats something outright. He eats like 10,000 calories a day or something crazy.
Yeah, and it was like how much? What was it like? It wasn't tilapia, but he ate like 22 pounds of fish a year or something. Or
Yeah, I think it was more than that, but yeah.
a month. I don't know. He eats a lot. He eats a lot of fish. It was a lot of food. But yeah, so Nick, I'll let you talk about it. Why, and we know this as coaches, why is having high protein beneficial when you're losing fat?
Like I think it's beneficial for a bunch of different reasons. One of the main ones being it just keeps you fuller, as opposed to the other macronutrients, carbs and fats and stuff like that. Protein kind of keeps you fuller. You get full faster eating chicken than you would rice or peanut butter or something like that. Obviously.
Oh God, peanut butter.
Yeah, dude. I had a problem with that this morning. Yeah. But outside of that, it also helps you, if you're trying to lose fat, you're going to be eating less than what you need. You're going to eat in a caloric deficit. If that's the case, one of the big, things you want to focus on is preserving muscle mass, and protein is going to help you do that as long as you eat enough of it and your weight training and stuff like that, obviously. So it kind of does a bunch of different things. It keeps you fuller, and it helps you preserve that muscle. That way, when you do lose the fat, you look like, like a Greek god or something, as opposed to like a. I think I just went like in the bad.
I think that was
okay.
that was
Too far.
That was a little
Yeah.
too far, Nick. It was a little too far.
Yeah, it's all
but
right. We can edit that later.
I apologize. I will edit that one for you, just for this one episode.
Thanks, man. I was trying to think of
I have a dark sense of humor.
It doesn't matter.
I'm totally okay with a dark sense of humor. But I grew up on South Park. What can I say? I was trained by Matt and Trey. Yeah, having that, the big thing about protein and why it is the most, relevant macronutrient when you're losing fat is you get that extra calorie burn from the thermic effect of food. So if you're eating, so it's anywhere between 20 to 30, sometimes 35, but usually 20 to 30% of the protein you consume gets burned off to fuel the process of converting the protein. Mm-hmm. So if you're eating 250 grams of protein and 20% of that, gets burned off, you're looking at 200 grams of protein your body is using to build muscle, to use as fuel, or whatever else. That other 50 grams is kind of going away. But that boosts your metabolism because your body has to work harder to burn that protein off, as opposed to fats and carbs, which, carbs are converted and very easily stored as glycogen or used for fuel in your muscles or stored in the liver. And, fats are the same way. But protein, it's got to be broken down. So there's a lot of work that your body has to go through to break protein down. So I like that added boost. I'm a big fan when I'm dieting, and I do this with my point system as well. That's why my health point nutrition system that my clients use, lean proteins are 0 points. So you can eat as much of those as you want, because if a client comes to me and is like, I ate 5 pounds of chicken in a bag, I'm going to be like, you, sir, I'm not worthy. Like, yeah. It's really hard to eat that much meat without feeling the effects and being full and be like, okay, I need to stop. Box of Cinnamon Toast Crunch, not a problem.
Oh yeah, it's easy.
Peanut butter for you, I know, is an issue, Nick. Mason, what is your sort of like one trip up food?
Oh, it's got to be pizza, beer.
See, and
Mexican food.
Tacos. We'll talk after this. Might have to use your Gainsadia for taco camp.
Did you like that?
Yeah. I might have to film myself making that for taco camp. But when you're losing fat, protein is the key thing. Retaining that muscle mass, building that muscle to help you recover, and also keeping you fuller longer. Plus that extra calorie boost. It's like a bonus XP, if you will. So we all keep protein high with our clients. fats and carbs sort of just fill in? What do you guys do with your clients? What are your strategies for fats and carbs?
I
Go ahead,
usually
Mason.
take care of fat first, and then fill in with the carbs. I like using a kind of a earn your carbs mentality. So if you're training hard, or you're very active, or have a job where you're on your feet most of the day, something like that, where your activity level is really high, you're going to need more carbs to sustain muscle growth. And if you're sedentary, like a student, or you sit at a desk all day at your job, protein and fat's probably enough, and then the carbs aren't going to be as essential, especially on non-training days.
So you cycle a little more with your clients, doing a high carb day for your training days and a low carb, high fat day for your rest days.
A little bit, but I don't like using carb cycling, or I don't like telling a client that. So I guess you could say that, but it's a little more intuitive. So I kind of would like somebody to know, hey, on a training day, or if you've been active that day, you can get away with more carbs. If you're sitting on your ass all day, you don't get any carbs. Get up and move if you want carbs. So that's kind of what I really want to instill. If someone's tracking, sure, you can call it carb cycling. Those guys are going to stick to something like that. They like having names on everything.
I got you. Nick, now I know you were going through an experiment, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But when it comes to fats and carbs, how do you program that for your clients or yourself when you're not doing this experiment?
Right. So assuming like I have a client that's geared towards fat loss, I always have them count calories. I don't do that with all my clients, but if they're really trying to see some sort of fat loss, that I always have them do it. From there, it really just depends. It's subjective to the client. Some of them I'll just have track calories and protein, and they can fill out the rest however they want with carbs or fats or whatever, just because I think those are the two most important numbers, the calories and the protein. But from there, I kind of treat it vaguely like Mason does. I usually set a fat number first, just based out of their total calories, whether it be 25% or 30%, and the remaining calories I just attribute to carbs. So a really small woman, would have way less calories, which would result in way less carbs. A way bigger man would have more carbs just because he had more calories to mess around with. Their fats would actually be vaguely similar, just because there's not as much to like give or take. Like a girl might be at 40, 45 on a cut, whereas a guy might be at 65, 70.
Yeah, typical. Sounds similar.
Yeah, it's how we all do it.
Yeah, things I've sort of done in the past, and those strategies. I mean, protein again is the key. So keeping that at, for what I'm going to be doing in the next few weeks, I'm going to up it to 1.3 grams per pound of body weight. So I'm going to be at about 225.
This is one thing I do with girls with protein. With women, at least starting out, for whatever, and this is something like I'd like to get your all's opinion on. A lot of times, women like you want to set them at like maybe like a gram per pound or whatever. So you have a 140 pound girl, you want to set her at 140, but a lot of times women like cannot eat that much protein. I don't know if it's like a psychological thing, the way they're raised or something. So a lot of times, like especially with beginning female clients, I never set their protein over 100 ever.
If I'm working with a client who has experience counting calories and does not mind counting calories, my only rule for them is that 90 grams must come from whole meat sources that day.
Okay.
That's it, 90. I don't care where the rest of your protein comes from. If I'm giving you 120 or 130 grams, I don't care. Tag along proteins in oats, in sweet potatoes, in rice, in avocados. I don't care. But 90 grams of that should come from Greek yogurt, chicken, beef, fish, a protein bar, something that has that a protein bar sort of works. I have actually fallen in love with these My Protein chocolate chip cookies. There's 38 grams of protein in them in one cookie, and they're freaking
I tried
awesome.
Those.
So that's a great way for people to get that. My point system, I really just hammer home. If you get hungry, then grab some deli turkey. Grab some grab some lunch meat. It's easy to eat. It kind of you get to use your hands and your fingers. You're not going to slap it on some bread. You're not going to use a fork. and that gives you something sort of tactile, and you've got to take some time, and you can slowly eat it. With the point system, that's why the lean proteins are at 0, so that when you go, oh well, I could eat, this I could eat 2 pieces of pizza for 5 points, and I only have 10. But then I'm going to be hungry all day. Well, then you go to your lean proteins and you get that stacked up. But if they count calories, 90 grams have to come from meat.
That's probably a good number. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. I was actually going to bring that up when you were talking about the thermic effect of protein. That kind of comes from a lot of that burn is really from the digestion and absorption.
Yeah.
Because protein foods are typically like your meats, your dairy, things like that need to be digested. But the whey protein, like straight whey protein powder. So if you told a woman get 100 grams of protein, she's a vegetarian or just doesn't like meat or whatever, she drinks 100 grams of protein, you're not getting that satiation factor from that protein powder like you would the meat. So I really like that you do that.
Yeah, and I have a longtime client who actually my first client is a vegetarian. So I had to work with her in finding high protein sources, and I wrote an article about that last summer. Some of them I tried, some of them are cool, but again, it's even their fat contents are fairly high. They're not as lean as say chicken breast or lean ground beef. All right, so we've covered basically that the best fat loss strategy is increase your protein intake. Whatever way that is, hit 1 gram per pound of body weight or up to like 1.5, I'll say 1 to 1.5 grams per pound of body weight. Unless you're extremely obese, you don't need to be eating 400 grams of protein. You can email one of us. We can sort of guide you on where to go with that, because that's a lot. That's a lot of protein at first, and it's expensive.
Yeah.
So in that case, I would say something different. But if you're 130 to maybe 250 pounds, anywhere from 1 to 1.5 grams per pound while losing weight, good measurement, good protein amount to shoot for, and then fill in your fats and your carbs from there. So one strategy that we hear all the time, and as coaches we've talked about, and you read about it, and many listeners have probably read about it as well, is that you should have minus 500 calories a day, be in a 500 calorie deficit to lose, about a pound a week. So let's just chat about that for a little bit. Because one thing I've noticed is that when you do 500, your body really notices really quickly notices 500. When I'm not using the point system where my clients don't have to count calories, what I prefer for them to do is be minus 300. Because at 300, you don't really notice it. Like, you're not hangry. You're not wanting to go raid the fridge. It's very easy to just sort of drink some water and slide by. That's something that I like to do. So what do you guys do? Do you do 500? And we'll talk about some aggressive fat loss schemes. That's my experiment for April into June. But at minus 500, do you guys still do that?
It kind of depends. Sure. It kind of depends. Usually when I'm like, obviously the whole calorie, like trying to figure out where someone's metabolic rate is really just a crapshoot. Like, you can kind of guesstimate it, but you're not really sure until they put it in action.
Yeah.
So at first, I don't always go for 500. I use because you don't even know what the hell they're even at anyways. So I go for 200 or 300, like kind of like you do, and then from there we adjust based on whatever we're tracking, whether it be their waist or their body weight or whatever. Trying to look for whatever kind of pace we're looking for, whether it be half a pound or a full pound a week or whatever. And we adjust from there. So I never set it at 500 because even if you try to, you're probably not going to be hitting that. So I usually use like a moderate deficit and then adjust from there. If it's too much, best case scenario, we give them more food. If it's not enough, then we just bring it down a little bit.
Mason?
I really like to use activity, kind of going back to that. So, I mean, I really don't have any empirical evidence here to back this up, but I would argue that anecdotally, what I've seen with clients and people is that the higher you can keep your calories when you diet, the more muscle you retain, the better you look,
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's so
better
true.
your hormone profiles are. So if someone comes, especially if they're not tracking, uh, if you can say don't change a thing with your diet. So if you can maintain, if you have some sense of normalcy in your diet, you can maintain that, and then we burn an extra 300 or 400 calories, um, in whatever way. Maybe that's a walk in the morning, your workouts. Maybe it's not sitting all day long, something that boosts that activity. And maybe we don't get close, but maybe 200 calories burned, and then we take 100 or 200 calories away from the diet. And I see that I have a lot more success with that than pulling a lot away. And kind of like you said, the body does notice it really quickly. Uh, it's almost like within a month. It seems to weight loss seems to really plateau a month, 2 months, and you can't go down forever. You
No,
know,
you can't. You can't. That's why
Right.
things like diet breaks are really are important. And those can be done with cheat days, though I don't do those anymore because those get really expensive. Or refeed days, which I really enjoyed carb refeed days uh, last uh, last year because it meant
Yeah.
2 pints of Cherry Garcia Froyo. And let's talk about those real quick. So those are things you would do when you've been dieting for probably at least 5 to 6 months. And those things are like taking a complete week off and just eating at your maintenance level at that moment. So you add back in, you still train, you're not taking a week off at the gym. It might be a little bit of a deload week, so you might be lighter weight, but you're gonna hit the gym, but you're gonna track, but you're not trying to hit everything perfectly. You're not trying to stay in that deficit. You can do it for a week or 2 weeks, depending on how long you've been in it, and then that sort of helps the hormones get back up and go back up. Refeeds work where you basically, if you're low carb, you take a day or 2 days, and there's different protocols as well, but where you ramp your carbs up really high, keep your fats at like 40, 45, keep your protein moderate, but really ramp the carbs up to get that leptin level back up, which is your hormone for burning fat, as well as get the glycogen back in your muscles. So your training the next couple of days feels really good. You look a lot better. So that's sort of the premise around those two. Um, have you guys used those, and do you actually use them with clients?
competitive athletes or strength athletes, you do for sure. Like you said, the glycogen
Yeah.
is a huge deal there. With your everyday or weekend warrior, I don't as much, but that's just me personally. So that's, I mean, kind of going back to or my mantra of more moderation
Yeah.
and sustainability and things like that. If someone gets to a place where they would need a refeed, they're probably already in trouble. If they're working with me. So if you do that, if you have the perfect person for it, which most of your people probably are, then it works great. I've used them in the past with a lot of success, and then some people really struggle with that. And I'm speaking more to like a cheat day or a cheat
Yeah.
meal, but it can kind of get a little cloudy there as to which is, you know, is it a refeed day or is this, because important thing you said there was a refeed day is where you eat at maintenance.
Yeah.
It's your current level. I've seen cheat days go into like, I just ate a month's worth of my calorie deficit in one
Oh,
day.
I hit 8,000 one day. I was trying for 10. I hit 8.
Yeah.
But that was a whole pizza, 2 pints of Ben and Jerry's, Taco Bell breakfast. Surprisingly, were really good. Yeah, it wasn't the best thing to do. I didn't feel great.
Let's see if you're using your 500 calorie, the standard 3,500 calories is a pound of body fat loss. I mean, you can undo, if you're losing a pound a week, you can undo 2 weeks of progress in
Yeah.
4 hours.
True, true.
you know,
Um,
um, but
but
they're very effective. I'll say that
yeah,
when done properly.
yeah. All right, so another little fat loss strategy, and I want to get into this because I know this is something that Nick is doing right now. I want to talk about this ketosis, this keto experiment that you're doing, Nick. So keto is a style of dieting, for anyone who doesn't know, where basically you're under 50 grams of carbs total for a day. I mean, you can't not have carbs. You're going to have carbs and veggies, like
Right.
unless you literally just eat meat, where carbs would be very scarce.
Yeah.
But even you'd have to eat meat and olive oil. Like that's really all you'd be able to eat. But you're very, very, very low carb. So are you at 50 or below? Are you at like 100? Where are you right now?
Yeah, I'm right now because I'm really really at the beginning stage of it. I'm actually trying to keep it underneath 30. I actually don't track my carbs even each day. I just only eat green vegetables, so broccoli or lettuce or whatever, spinach. So I don't even track those, but those things are so low carb that I doubt I eat enough of it, to go above the 30. So I try to stay below 30.
Which,
Just
by
because
the
I'm
way,
at the beginning.
just so everyone knows, that's like a banana.
Yeah. It's crazy. So yeah, I'm really low carb. It's purely from fiber sources, so green veggies. Now as I get a little bit further along, I'm gonna experiment more as far as like how high I can take it and stay in ketosis. But right now I'm trying to stay as low as possible just to get into it, really get in the swing of things.
Are you using test strips to see if you're in ketosis?
I bought some, but I haven't used them yet.
Okay. So for people that are wondering, like, what the fuck is ketosis? Can you sort of explain what that is real quick?
So typically, your body, your brain primarily runs off glycogen, so that's carbs. That's their primary energy source. Ketosis is at a point where you no longer have that in your body, or at least not enough of it, and your body has to start producing ketones from your fat. Your brain uses about, I think it's like 100 grams of carbs a day, roughly.
20% of your
So
total like calorie intake or total carb intake your brain uses.
exactly. So, as soon as it goes below that, it has to get it from somewhere, or else you die, I guess, without your brain. So you start producing ketones to supply your body, and that's pretty much just from fat.
Is that what zombies run off of? Is ketones? Because just no, I just thought of that. Like when you said your brain dies, I'm like Walking Dead, because like the finale is.
Yeah, maybe.
I guess
maybe.
they have to be ketone fueled.
I felt like that day too, man.
Yeah. So this is some really interesting stuff for anyone who wants to do more research. I'll put some links in the show notes on ketosis. There's some really interesting things. And I'll link this to the Tim Ferriss podcast that he did with is it Tom or Dave? Some D'Agostino. But he's a huge ketosis guy who like went like he lifted like 500 pounds on a deadlift for 10 reps after like fasting for like 10 days.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, did something crazy. But ketosis is interesting. There's some interesting data in the science world that's coming out on it. And there's a couple episodes where Tim talks about it with some people. But it's unique that our bodies can sort of do that. That they can jolt from carbs to burning fat for fuel source, which is why you had like carbs are evil, carbs are bad, they make you fat, and paleo sort of got very big, the primal thing, and then they started putting things in packages because that's what cavemen did. Sorry, I have to make that jab.
Coffee.
Yeah, butter in your coffee. But how much of a struggle has it been for you, Nick, doing ketosis? Because it is a fat loss strategy you can do. You can go really low carb. You can rely on fat and protein to sort of fuel you. The only issue with that is, for me, is my workouts go to shit and my muscles don't have they just look flat.
Right. Well, so I've lost 100 pounds. When I originally did that, I went low carb, so I probably ate like 100 grams a day. And that's probably the biggest cut I've had, obviously. I had another really successful cut once, keeping my carbs fairly high. So throughout the duration of the cut, I kept my carbs above 200, which for a 170-pound dude is fairly high on a fairly big deficit. So I want to do something different. That's why I'm doing the ketosis thing, so pretty much zero carb, more or less. I wasn't really sure how I was gonna feel, because you see so much conflicting information. Like a lot of people really push carbs nowadays. I guess it's like the pullback from all the people that are trying to demonize carbs.
Yeah.
But then you read all this ketosis research about how it's like God's gift to Earth and all this other stuff. So I didn't really know what to expect because there's so much conflicting information. It actually has been really, really easy, weirdly enough, and I'm kind of combining it with an aggressive fat loss strategy. So I'm keeping my calories at like 1860, which on like a normal diet would be awful, you know? But I guess like, I don't know, like it's hard to explain. Like it actually feels like I'm eating a shit ton of food, you know, like 'cause you're eating so many eggs or pork loin or peanut butter and broccoli and all this other shit that like, I don't know, like it just fills you up so quick. The big thing that I've noticed, and I'm going to ramble here because I'm like in the beginning of this, so I don't really know what to expect or what it's going to end up. My energy levels have stayed a lot more consistent throughout the day. So like previously, they would fluctuate a lot with my meals, especially post-workout when I'd eat more carbs. You know, I'd get a big rush of energy and then instantly feel like I was about to fall asleep. Whereas in ketosis, I felt the same all day. Outside of that, I don't get cravings anymore. That's the main reason I changed over. Because I feel like I was getting a lot of cravings previously. Now I get zero cravings throughout the day, which is another weird thing, especially considering how aggressive my deficit is. And the mental clarity. So I was having a lot of issues with writing and stuff like that previously, just because I would go to reach for words and I couldn't pull them out. And now when I'm writing, I'm able to reach for words and pull them out a lot quicker than I was able to before. So the struggles, like there really hasn't been any. I had a really bad headache on like day 2, but then that went away. But I also drank a lot of alcohol the night before, so I don't know if that fucked things up. I don't know.
I mean, that's got some carbs in it.
Yeah, no. Like straight liquor apparently like increased, and don't quote me on this because I'm not a scientist. I'm like a noob when it comes to all this shit. But apparently, alcohol can enhance ketosis as long as it isn't like banana rum, which is my previous go-to. Yeah, dude, shit's so good.
He's not lying. I remember
Yeah,
the
yeah.
banana
Dude, I got
rum
everybody
incident.
drinking it.
Yeah, he did. I will look for some notes on that for the show notes with.
Yeah, I'm probably not the best person to ask about it because I'm so new to it.
Yeah.
But the big thing I've noticed is like I felt fuller than I feel like I should. My energy levels have been really consistent, and dude, my sex drive, and that was something I was worried about, has been like through the roof. And I'm just a week or 2 in.
It's that saturated fat, baby.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy. So like maybe someone like Adam Ali or someone like that would be a better person to ask about it.
Yeah, I'll put a link to his one to the episode he did with me where he talks about that, and then over to his site at Physiconomics.
Yeah.
And then if you're on Snapchat, you can just follow him at Physiconomics and snap him some questions. He is pretty much the keto master right now.
Yeah.
On all of this. And it kind of makes sense that you kind of feel fuller, I guess, because you can't have carbs, so it's either got to be veggies or protein. Like your protein has to make up for the other 4 calories that like a gram of carbs would have in it. So,
and that's another. So like, there's so many like reasons that I decided to do this finally. One, I just wanted to experiment, but because I can't have the carbs, it removes any slip up with the carbs because you just don't have them in the house or you don't eat them or whatever. Whereas before, like my roommate has this box of protein Cheerios, and I would like eat them as I was fixing my breakfast, and one handful would turn into 12, and so on and so forth. Now I just don't even have a handful, so by process of just removing carbs, I removed like 1,000 calories a day. You know what I'm saying? Like, so like mentally, the like absurd strictness has actually been really relieving.
Okay. Interesting.
It's really weird. Yeah,
I don't want to go into any sort of debate on because you were right. You did lose quite a bit of weight when you were pretty high with carbs, and carbs do have a benefit to fat oxidation. I don't pronounce things
Sounds
properly.
right.
Yeah,
we'll go with that. Yeah, man.
Oxidation probably is how you say it. They do benefit that in a lot of ways. So I'm not, I was at a point where I demonized carbs for a while, and I like them. I'm trying to figure out my cut now before this photo shoot, and my carbs keep coming in at like 150, and I'm like, no, no. But what I'm going to do is similar to something Nick is going to do, except I'm not going to 1800 because I remember what 1900 calories a day felt like, and that made me want to commit seppuku. So instead, I'm going to do an aggressive fat loss scheme. But since I'm still working out 6 days a week, that really gives me a chance to kind of keep my calories a little higher. But I'm going to be doing an aggressive fat loss scheme at negative about 700, maybe 800 calories from maintenance a day. That'll put my macros at like 225 protein, 175 carbs, and like 58, but I'll probably take it up to 60 for fat. So not impossible, not horrible, but a lot less food than what I'm used to eating now. You see a lot of people now doing aggressive fat loss schemes. There's a lot of people, or schemes, programs out there. You know, Tanner, who couldn't make the show tonight, just finished one himself. Jason Helmus did one as well, and his was like 6 weeks. But these, and I have to say, if you read about these online, if you're a listener right now, you need to make sure that you have dieted at least 5 to 6 times in your life, like that you've been through a couple cuts, because this is like the Sephiroth of fat loss. Like you've got to have your A game, because you're gonna be angry, you're gonna be hangry, you're gonna be hungry, you're gonna be upset, like you're gonna feel it, because we already discussed how intense 500 could be, but if you go even lower, you're really gonna feel it. So biggest thing I can say is this is not something for anyone who's new. If you're new to trying to lose fat, take it slow. Focus on the lifts, focus on getting stronger, and then in a year or two, maybe, move on to something like that. But Nick, how deep are you at 1860? Like how many calories a day are you under maintenance?
It probably like 700-800 ish, roughly. I guess it depends how active I am that day.
Okay. All right, so minus 700, 800. That's close to what I'm going to be doing. I'll link the article that Jason Helmus wrote in the show notes. You can find this at sidequestfitness.com/fat loss strategies. Put a hyphen in between fat loss and then strategies, or just head to sidequestfitness.com/podcast and just find it there and find the show notes, and I'll link to all of that. Mason, have you experimented with anything like that in the past? I know you're the moderation guy, and I like that. I'm a big fan of moderation as well. But have you done anything sort of?
Well, so when I got into the fitness industry, let's go before that, when my fitness journey started, I was chasing the lean physique, the Brad Pitt in Fight Club, the Cloud Strife. So I was very, very lean, very low calorie all the time. And, well, I'll touch on this. I'll get back to it. Let's just say if I could go back in time, I probably never would have dieted to begin with. Okay, we'll touch on it here. Whether this is a perfect chance. So you touched on it just a minute ago when you talked about don't jump into a diet or the fat loss scheme or program right off the bat. You're kind of setting yourself up for failure. I mean, if you don't have any muscle mass to begin with, you're probably going to look like Nick's when you do get to the body type.
I'll edit that one out as well.
Yeah, we'll edit that out. Well, Nick said it, not me. So, I mean, but honestly, that's
true.
You can't uncover. Fat's not covering muscle, so I mean you can't uncover these muscles in this lean physique if you don't have them. So in the past, I mean I tried. So when I started, I tried low carb, no carb, if it fits your macros, paleo-esque. I mean I honestly tried it all. And that includes, so back in my GNC days, that includes your fat burners and all these things, all kinds of different strategies. And if you don't have a significant amount of muscle mass to begin with, you're just going to end up fairly skinny fat, I guess you could say would be the best word for it. Um, but now, I think now if I were to start dieting again, or if I wanted to kind of ditch moderation, or if you have someone that needs that has an event or time sensitive uh, case to get ready for, I think your best bet is to fit what you're already doing as closely as possible. So if you're a person that doesn't uh, eat a ton of vegetables, or low carb and keto diet's probably not the best for you, because what are you gonna get your fiber and your micronutrients from? If you're just eating your meat and protein sources without any kind of carb or any kind of vegetable. So it kind of is going to vary based on the person. If I were to do it, I would probably just go very balanced, like a 30, 30, 40, 40 protein, 30 carb, 30 fat, and then just go a very moderate calorie deficit and increase my activity. Because if you go from fairly sedentary, which I am, other than lifting, so no cardio really activities, um, it's easy to create a deficit.
Yeah. One. So while we were talking about this, you mentioned sort of fat burner stuff and whatnot. And I just want to sort of bring those up real quick because there's a lot of things out there that people will go out and buy. You'll buy fat burners. There are a few things that do promote, your body to burn a little more fat. It increases your metabolism. And I've got it, just a brief little list of them here, like coffee, really caffeine. Coffee just tends to have a lot of caffeine. It's also hunger blunting. So when you have caffeine, like if you're fasting, it really keeps you satiated or blunts your hunger signals. Cinnamon actually can promote fat burning, has fat burning qualities. You can put that on your sweet potatoes, put it in your oatmeal, or whatever way. And then things like yohimbine, and there's a few other things out there as well. And you'll see all these things marketed, like raspberry ketones now. Your body can produce them. You don't really need them from raspberries, but these things are beneficial. But the number one thing is this: the holy grail of fat loss is that you have to be in a deficit. So you can't go out and buy these fat burners. You can't just go eat avocado or this fat burning food without being in a deficit. You have to eat less than what you burn in a day. Without that, you're not going to have weight loss. So anytime you see someone promoting a sort of a fat burner or a fat burning supplement, or tells you that it will increase the ability for you to burn fat, sure, it can. But if you're still eating more than you burn, you're wasting your money. So I just want to mention that because you did mention because we've all done it. I did it. I bought something because I thought it would increase my testosterone, and all it did was just give me 8th grade dick. Like, that's it. Like, I just, like, the wind blew, and it was like, bing! And I'm like, all right, well, I guess that's all this stuff does. Like, it didn't get me ripped. It didn't get me jacked. It just made me horny. Like, that was it. That's all it did.
Well, I think the last time I was on your show, I already recommended it, and everyone recommends it, but examine.com.
Yep.
Anything you're going to take, you need to look at every single ingredient on there.
Yep.
Yeah.
I agree. Examine.com, they go through everything. They let you know what works, what doesn't, and whether it's bullshit or not.
Yeah, dude, my supplement bill got a lot cheaper when I started looking at them.
Now, there are 2 fat loss power-ups that you can use that actually cost you no money. Well, one, I guess, kind of costs you money if you have to pay the bill every month. But water, so drinking more water, which a lot of people don't do, can, one, help you stay full so you don't ingest other calories. So I will call it a fat burner for that because it burns away the ability you wanting to go eat. And sleep. A lot of people don't sleep enough. So if you want to say those are fat loss power-ups, more sleep and drinking water And I might be doing a video on the Facebook page shortly on how to make water more tasty. Not that it doesn't already taste great, but you can make it taste even better. So those are a few power-ups that I would say you could use as a fat loss strategy. All right, so what other sort of things when it comes to losing fat as the summer approaches would you suggest people look into or think about as they begin the journey of getting beach ready?
Get outside. It's the perfect time of year.
Yeah.
The easiest way. I mean, you'll burn more calories. You're probably pretty vitamin D deficient at this point after the winter. I guess unless you're listening in Australia, then you're screwed. But yeah, I mean, doing more things outside. If you have any friends, go out for a game of basketball, throw the football around, walk your dog, all those things. You'll burn more calories, feel better. Can't beat it.
All right, so the biggest thing when it comes to losing fat, obviously, is you have to be in a deficit. We've talked about aggressive fat loss schemes. We've talked about keto. We've talked about myths. Obviously that fat burners don't work unless you're in a deficit. So let's real quick give some warnings, things not to do in a fat loss strategy that maybe we have done in the past. When we were trying to get beach ready, maybe we weren't with a coach. Having a coach is going to benefit you a lot. It gives you accountability. So if you eat some Cinnamon Toast Crunch, you can email your coach and be like, hey, I had some Cinnamon Toast Crunch. And then you don't eat a whole box. Or it gives you that person to keep you accountable each and every week on your journey. So you've got someone watching there behind your back. What are some of the mistakes you guys made in the past without knowing it or knowing it?
I think sometimes people tend to follow whoever their favorite celebrity is or whatever they're doing, and a lot of times, celebrities are especially actors. They're experts at acting. They're not necessarily experts in nutrition or anything like that. So a lot of times what they're saying maybe things that they believe or things their coaches told them, but it's not always accurate. So I think a lot of times the best thing you can do, and things that I've messed up with originally, is instead of following that, is actually do some research yourself and read a little bit about it. So I think one of the things that holds people back is they don't really understand why they're doing what they're doing, so they don't really know how to prioritize certain things. The better you understand nutrition, the more success you'll probably have with it.
I think that's a very good point. Looking up to, because we all, let's take Ben Affleck as the case now with Batman versus Superman having come out.
Yeah.
The dude was huge.
Yeah. It's weird. I didn't expect it.
I mean, he looked big in the costume, but I was like, oh, all right, it's a costume. There's probably some padding, something. No, the dude got jacked. And we talked about The Rock earlier, and the guy who did that sort of experiment. And even The Rock is like, dude, I feel sorry for you. Like, don't do this. Don't do it, because that's what they get. That's what they're getting paid to do. And I'm sure The Rock understands nutrition. I don't think he's done this long enough to not understand.
Oh yeah, he probably does. Yeah.
But there's so many programs out there you see on bodybuilding.com, and people are like, oh, I'm going to do this program, and I'm going to end up like Ronnie Coleman. Probably not, because that program is probably more advanced than what you're ready for. And there are programs out there for people who are new or people who are intermediate. Like, don't go for broke. Like Nick said, do some research, find out what you're ready for, and don't try to be following the Brad Pitt diet or listening to what's her name, who's married to the guy from Coldplay. I don't even remember her name now. So
I'll kind of piggyback there and say, if you did choose the Brad Pitt diet or the Ben Affleck diet or the Rock diet or whatever, just choose it and then stick with it. So don't get really excited about, I'm going to do this new diet plan. It's what Ronnie Coleman does or whatever. I'm going to do this, and then the next week or 2 weeks later, you say, well, I might go paleo, or I'm also thinking about maybe like going high carb. I saw someone else doing 50 bananas a day. That looks good. I like bananas. So don't be that person. Um, it's important to keep in mind like what you choose is probably less important than what you stick to. So if you do choose a crazy diet, it would probably work. There's a good chance it would work if you did the entire plan or you stuck to the diet long enough. So
I agree with that, and I just had something pop in my head as you were saying that. Dieting isn't dating. So it's not like you're gonna like try this diet out for a couple of dates and be like, whatever, this diet's crazy, I'm out of here. Like if you stick with it, unless they really are crazy, because sometimes you gotta cut and run.
Ain't that the truth?
maybe that's why I don't like dieting. Issues.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, dude. Yeah.
But stick, like Mason said, stick with it. And even if it's so hard because you see things like this burns more fat, or why paleo is good, or why you should do this, why you should eat carbs, why you shouldn't eat carbs, why you should have a gallon of milk every day. Like you see all these crazy stories telling you these studies, and there's a book, maybe you guys remember the title, I don't remember it completely. I think it's called Bad Science. You can get on Amazon. I'll have the link. I'll do the research and get the official title in the link in the show notes. And it tells you like why these things come out and why like people pull out the things that they want, and like why the science of those studies are really bad, and why people cherry pick to pick out their points or pick a sentence or two but don't give you the whole conclusion and whole data set. So that's something important to remember, is that you will read these things, but they're not always the full story. So if you pick a diet, if you go paleo, do it hardcore for 8 weeks, see the results. If you do, low fat, high carb, but you're still in a deficit, do it. The biggest point that any of us could say is stay consistent. Consistency leads to success, and keep that protein high, and that will get you there where you want to be. We're nearing an hour, so let's sort of wrap it up. Are there any other myths or strategies you would give people before they head into their cut for the summer to get beach ready?
Yeah. There's one myth, and it's like that if your calories go too low, that you'll hit starvation mode and you'll no longer lose fat and all that stuff. And it kind of makes sense, like, if you're not eating enough, your body wants to survive, so it would hold on to that extra energy. But if that was the case, then every third world country would be obese, right? So it's not necessarily true. Sometimes you do have to get fairly far down into a deficit to get to where you want to be if you have really advanced goals. And not only just that, any diet that's done long term, you're going to be hungry on. I think that's something that freaks people out the first time they really get hungry. But that's something you kind of have to push through. And if you rather be full than be hungry, that's fine, but you may not reach the goal. So you kind of have to prioritize what's really, really important to you. And usually hunger is something that comes along with a diet.
Yep. It will come and it will happen. Mason, I'll let you go before I wrap things up and throw my 2 cents in.
I would just say, making it easy on yourself. So keeping it as simple as possible. Knowing where you slip up normally. So if you're the person that drives through on the way home from work, you pull through McDonald's or Chick-fil-A, and you need to have some kind of snack or something to eat before you leave work, and you need to know that about yourself. It's kind of like asking the hard questions, like, do I drink too much beer on the weekends, or is chocolate cake my weakness, or does my girlfriend buy too many sweets and leave them at my house? Those are the kind of problems that are pretty easy to fix, but that's like, if you pull those out, think about how much more successful you could be just eliminating those little slip-ups that are always there. Kind of like Nick said earlier, so he's not eating his protein Cheerios anymore every day, and one handful turns into 5. Just eliminating one thing like that can eliminate 500 calories without even mindfully implementing a calorie deficit.
Yep.
Yeah.
To sort of piggyback on that and close out, two things I would tell anyone to do. Number one is, as Mason said, start asking yourself the hard questions. Your success in life is predicated by the amount of uncomfortable conversations you're willing to have. And those have to be with yourself. I'm not talking just like an uncomfortable conversation with your girlfriend or your mom or your dad or whoever. Like, those need to be conversations with yourself as well. And you need to figure out what it is that's preventing you from getting to your goals. Liquid calories, things like soda, beer. I mean, I love beer, and I can tell anyone how to, implement the right strategies to lose weight and still enjoy alcohol. But it's kind of like the aggressive fat loss scheme. You really need to learn what it's like to be hungry and really fight those hunger signals and know what they're like before you can, eat broccoli and a pound of chicken and then go take down a 12-pack of Bud Light Lime without, hurting your goals that much. You really got to learn that. So don't shoot for Bowser initially. Take one of the small Koopas out first. Liquid calories, and then I had my other thing and totally just forgot it when I made the video game reference. But stay in a deficit, stay around 300 calories in a deficit. Take it slow. Keep water up. Keep drinking water. Keep your protein high. Eat your veggies, and you'll be good. If you have questions on any sort of fat loss schemes or anything about fat loss or getting ready for the summer, reach out to any of us. Mason, what is your email address if they want to reach out to you, or social?
Mason at masonfit.com.
Cool.
You can find me around most places at just either my name or Mason Fit.
Cool. And I'll put links in the show notes as well. Nick, where can they find you if they want to reach out to you?
They can hit me up on any of the social media sites. I'm on all of them. And then my website, nicksorrelltraining.com.
Awesome. Guys, you can hit me up at sidequestfitness@gmail.com or find SideQuest Fitness online, and you'll hear in the show notes and everything as well. The pre-roll, all of that as well. So we're all getting ready for the summer. We've got some fat loss schemes and strategies that we're working on with aggressive fat loss or ketosis. We're taking things a little more moderate and basing things around your activity level, which I really like that as well. So, guys, anything you want to leave people with before we sign off?
Nick, what you got, man?
Okay. So I've talked a lot about being aggressive and eliminating foods and doing all this extreme stuff, but really what you guys said is what most people need to do. So take in account moderation. And then also be realistic with yourself. Start small and then grow as you grow, I guess. Or I guess as you shrink if you're losing fat. But really just take it slow. Don't go balls to the wall immediately. Take your time with it. See what works, see what doesn't, and then adjust from there.
I love it. I would say, kind of reverting back to something I've said already, but get your goals in order. So if you want to carry a significant amount of muscle, it's going to take a significant amount of time. So don't expect to do what you're going to find online, which is, you're going to need to bulk or cut or go in mass phases and cut phases. If you want to put on a significant amount of muscle, it's probably going to take not dieting for a year plus, 12, 18, 24 months, who knows? But I could say that if you do something like that, your ability to cut is going to be so much easier. It's going to make things so much easier. And you're going to look so much better when you get to those low body fat levels than you would otherwise. That's just the biggest mistake I see, especially in men, more so in men. But that's my number one tip, Robbie.
Awesome. Well, guys, I've had a great time. Again, head over to sidequestfitness.com/fat loss strategies or sidequestfitness.com/podcast and get the show notes and find all the links for everything. Links to these guys as well to contact them. Guys, I've had a great time, and we will see you guys next month on the May episode of Coach's Corner. So when you head over to sidequestfitness.com and check out the show notes, Don't forget to pick up the Training Grounds, my free 28-day training program that will help you start your fitness quest. The Training Grounds includes a 28-day training program along with my Health Points Nutrition protocol. So head over to SideQuestFitness.com and pick up your copy today.